Welcome to Watch, Review, Repeat. This is the podcast where two best friends discuss the latest in film and television and then do it all over again the following week. My name is Colton Brown, and joining me is Andrew Meadows.
Colton Brown! How you doing this afternoon, man?
I'm a little tired, I have to admit, but I'm excited to talk about a couple of shows that we watched this past week. It's our first ever television show double feature, so that's pretty cool. So many things to look forward to in this episode, I would say. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Many scratches have been itched this week with our content. So
I feel like it's itches that should be scratched.
Itches? What? Scratches? I guess scratches.
You scratch an itch, right? Does that make more sense?
Yeah, I think that's it. Okay. Many itches have been scratched.
There we go. Yeah, I like that. That sounds better. I don't know. It's throwing me off for some reason. So yes, I agree with you. I'm sorry. Please continue.
I don't know my words. But, you know, we covered the Netflix original series called The Rain and the YouTube Red original series called Cobra Kai. So vastly different, tonally different shows. But you know, they're both good, so I'm excited to talk about them this week. And one thing that's definitely different about these shows is that all the episodes were roughly 30 minutes, which made it easy grinds throughout the week. So it was actually very refreshing to catch a 30-minute episode for each show. I don't know how you feel about that, but that was something that I really enjoyed.
Well, it certainly made it possible for us to cover two shows. Yeah, I mean, if these were the usual 10, 13 episode, 1 hour long Netflix shows that we've kind of covered in the past, I don't think there would have been any way that certainly I could have gotten through two of those in a single week. So yeah, no, I agree. Well, I have things to say about that, but we'll talk about that more kind of when we get into it later. I did want to just say a little congratulations to the winners of our poster giveaway, our Avengers Infinity War IMAX posters that we gave away. So we already announced the winners on social media, but I did want to just do a brief shout out to them on the podcast. So our Facebook giveaway, the winner was Clay Blastic. Congratulations, Clay. And then on Twitter, our winner was at the Scenes of Now. K is the name for that Twitter handle. So congrats to both of those people. I hope you guys enjoy that nice poster that is
hang that shit up on your walls.
Yeah, it's going to look good there. Get a frame for it.
Get a frame. Yeah. Don't be a schmuck. Frame it. Put it up. It's nice.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't be a schmuck this week because you have a fun fact ready, right?
I do have a fun fact ready. So in covering this, the shows that we covered, I feel like I feel like I enjoyed one more than the other, and my fun fact's going to reflect that. So.
Yeah, so you learned a whole paragraph that you're going to speak in Danish because you were such a big fan of The Rain, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay,
no. Won't disrespect a body of peoples that way. But No More Kings, they're a Los Angeles-based band. They featured the core cast of The Karate Kid in a music video called Sweep the Legs in 2007. Or Sweep the Leg, I'm sorry. And it's a pretty dope music video. If you're a fan of The Karate Kid, I would recommend that you listen to it. I don't know, the music might not be for you, but it is kind of cool to see adult versions of these characters represented in a music video about karate. So there's my fun fact.
Very good, very good. I actually think, if I recall correctly, I think that Ralph Macchio and William Zabka, Daniel and Johnny, I think that they popped up in How I Met Your Mother as well. But I think they were playing themselves, like they were playing the actors. Like I think Barney was a huge fan of The Karate Kid or something like that, so he had him for a party. I don't know. It's been a while. I didn't finish the show, to be fair. I heard it ended very poorly, so I'm not really planning on going back anytime soon, but I feel like that was a thing. I could be wrong, and I'm not going to look it up. So it's going on the record right now. If I'm just making shit up, then so be it.
Just roll with it, man.
Exactly. That's what you do, right?
Oh, every week. That's me.
It's your motto. All right, news for this week. Actually, it's going to be pretty TV heavy. There's things going on in the TV realm that we'll get to in just a little while. But we do have some film news I did want to touch on. First of which is a poster that was revealed for the next film from Academy Award winning writer Jordan Peele, who wrote and directed Get Out last year, 2017. So his next movie is going to be called Us, and we got a poster for it. It's very kind of abstract looking. The tagline specifies that it's a new nightmare from the mind of an Academy Award winner. So that's intriguing. We're getting some casting news for this movie, which I also think is very intriguing. It's more exciting than intriguing. It's all good. So Winston Duke, who played M'Baku in both Black Panther and Avengers Infinity War, is in talks to join it alongside Lupita Nyong'o, who also was in Black Panther, and Elizabeth Moss is also set to join the project. Handmaid's Tale, Mad Men. Great actress, a little cray-cray in real life, a bit of a Scientologist, unfortunately, but she is talented, I guess. So, the power of Xeno flows within her.
Unlimited power!
So there's a little bit of information on this. It's set for a March 15th, 2019 release date, so it's almost a year away. Details are not, there's not a ton on it, but it's said to center on two couples, one white, one black. And
it almost, the poster almost looks like a the
Rorschaching plot, yeah.
Yeah, Rorschaching plot. That's it. I'm glad I
just think of Watchmen.
That's it. It almost looks like his mask a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited about it. I think that this guy here, Jordan Peele, I think he's a fabulous storyteller. I think he's a good director. So I'm excited. He's one of those people that you catch a movie that he's done, which I guess is just Get Out. I suppose I haven't followed his career beyond that, but I feel like everything after Get Out is something that I'm going to want to follow. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, prior to Get Out, he was one half of Key and Peele. If you've watched that television show,
I haven't watched that show. It's a comedy show, right?
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's over now. Like I said, he's on to bigger and better things now that he's an Academy Award winner. But no, it's a good show. And on that note, the other half of that is Keegan-Michael Key, who stars in a movie called The Predator, which we got a teaser trailer for.
Oh, good transition. It was fucking flawless.
Well, thank you. I'm working on it. Sometimes it's a little rough around the edges. Sometimes it's smooth. So yeah. The Predator, man. What'd you think about this trailer?
I don't know, dude. I don't know. It didn't do anything for me. I can tell you that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I am a massive fan of The Predator. I think The Predator is some badass stuff. I think Shane Black has the capacity to be a awesome director. I don't think they did it during the trailer, the teaser. They said, the director of Iron Man 3. That is not the movie I would reference for my. I mean, I don't want to make anybody mad, but that is not if I had Shane Black's resume, that is not what I would put up on the top of this.
Yeah, I agree with you, but it did make $1 billion, so I kind of get the marketing standpoint,
I guess you're right.
But I 100% agree. I mean, for me, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is Shane Black's finest, and I would say that
or the Nice Guys
is a close second.
Awesome.
No, I agree. But I mean, Shane Black. He's going back to his roots. I don't know if you know this, but Shane Black starred in a little movie called Predator back in the day.
Did he really?
Yeah, he played Hawkins.
No way! I had no idea.
Shane Black, man. Anyway, besides the point, this trailer, man, I don't know what to think about this. Like, I want to like it because, again, Shane Black's involvement definitely is a good sign.
It looks almost like that AVP that came out.
Yeah, definitely. It gave me some strong AVP vibes, which is not good vibes, I would say.
I remember liking that AVP.
No, they're both real shit.
one is more shit than the other by far, right?
Well, the first one's a bit watered down. It's very PG-13, and the second one kind of went more for the hard R type gory.
But it was super camp, if I remember. I mean, I watched it when I was a lot. I haven't seen it in a long time.
No, it was just shitty.
Oh, okay. Well,
it was just bad, and it had some of the worst lighting, I think, in cinematic history. Seriously, try watching that movie. Like, you need to turn the brightness on your TV past like what it's actually like factory allowed to be set at, so you can actually see a fucking thing in it. I want to say that this is going to turn out well, just kind of based on the talent involved. Like, a good cast too, I think, for the most part. Sterling K. Brown, Tom Jane's in this. Jake Busey, your man Jake Busey's in this. As I mentioned, Keegan-Michael Key, Jacob Tremblay, who's the little kid from Room, Trevante Rhodes from Moonlight, Boyle Holbrook from Logan. Like, there's good actors in this, so I don't know. I hope that this trailer is just kind of just a bad trailer. It's kind of my hope, honestly, because it just didn't do anything for me to really get me excited for this.
It didn't do anything to get me excited. It seemed kind of... I think the worst part about the trailer or the teaser... Is it a teaser? It's a teaser, right?
It's a teaser, yeah.
Okay. The worst part about the teaser just seems kind of stupid. It opens up with a kid opening up some Predator hardware, which is...
Yeah, someone shipped him a Predator mask and gauntlet.
Which just seems kind of fucking stupid. He's playing with like Predator gear with his Lincoln Logs set. I don't know. Maybe just I said,
well, it's hard. There's no context for any of it,
No.
So it's like, okay, what, why,
Yeah. So I guess we'll see what happens, but yeah, man. I mean, it's got good talent behind it. Hopefully it's not butchered.
We'll see. Comes out in September, so not too far away. This is a little bit of a harder transition. I must apologize. We have some more casting news for Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So I think we talked about this a little while back, about Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt playing the leads in this. I think we talked about Margot Robbie's rumored involvement, and we have many updates on the casting front here. So Margot Robbie is now confirmed for this movie. She will be playing Sharon Tate.
Awesome.
And joining her, Burt Reynolds.
Awesome.
Tim Roth.
Awesome.
Kurt Russell.
Fucking awesome.
Michael Madsen.
Holy shit.
And Timothy Olyphant.
Oh! That sounds fucking cool, dude. I'm all about it.
The Tarantino guy, he knows how to put together a cast, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. This is shaping up really good, in my opinion. Any word on when we're going to get a teaser or a trailer or anything like that? Or are we just kind of, this is just the cast? And
I don't think this has even started filming, so I would say might be a good while at this point.
Well, it's shaping up really well. I'm excited.
Yes, I agree. I am greatly looking forward to what that madman Tarantino has in store for us with this, especially with that cast lined up. Whew, that is a good cast. All right, last bit of film news for this week. Bit of a downer. Margot Kidder, best known for playing Lois Lane in the Christopher Reeve Superman films, has died at age 69. According to her manager, says that she died peacefully in her sleep. Yeah, I mean, sad news. I mean, Christopher Reeve obviously passed away, close to 15 years ago, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
And, it's pretty sad to think that, the quintessential, I would say, Superman and Lois Lane have now passed away. But I don't know. It's a tough thing. I mean, I'd say the Superman films kind of predate me, but I would say that that's like the best interpretation of Superman on film, certainly. Sorry, Zack Snyder. Man of Steel isn't going to cut it for me. I do like the CW Superman's good. He's no Christopher Reeve though. And I guess we can't throw too much shade at Brandon Routh. He was basically just doing Christopher Reeve Superman, but it was just kind of I don't know, just an imitation, wasn't his own thing. But I don't really know what else to say other than rest in peace.
That's it. That's all you can do.
Mm-hmm. So, as I mentioned before, a lot going on the TV side of the house. So, just a kind of brief preview of kind of what's happening and why there's so many things happening in the TV world is that the upfronts are this week, which is basically all the networks basically present their lineups for this upcoming seasons to advertisers and stuff like that to try to get, to try to make money off these shows that they're going to be putting on air effectively. So basically what that means is tons of shows are getting renewal announcements, tons of shows are getting canceled because they're not making any more of them. They're not trying to make money off of them. So, there's this kind of huge last minute push every year around this time where shit just pops off in a massive way. And unfortunately, that means casualties of shows that we like. That means casualties of shows that we've never watched. Maybe we don't give a shit about. Maybe we did want to watch them and we're part of the problem because we didn't watch them to get the live ratings up. Whatever the case may be, there's plenty of things going on kind of in this area. So we'll start with something that we both like, and that is Rick and Morty.
Tell me about Rick and Morty.
Has scored a renewal of 70, count them, 70 episodes on the way.
God damn.
Yeah, that's fucking insane because it's been 3 seasons of 10 apiece. So
yeah,
it's effectively another 7 seasons. I don't know how it's going to be divvied up. I would imagine this is something
that's a lot of fucking content, dude.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably going to be on air for 10 years just from this one fucking renewal alone. So hopefully,
they were just talking about they were worried about not getting any more seasons.
Yeah, I don't think that was ever quite in the cards, but yeah, I mean, this is still just completely insane. This has to be unprecedented for something
70
like this.
Episodes, Jesus.
My hope is that Justin Roiland and Dan Harmon have some fucking good ideas in the store because they are going to be working on this shit for ages. From the sound of it.
I don't know. I feel like they could take it. I mean, obviously I'm not them, but just the way that their content is geared and everything else, I think that it's almost Simpsons like. You know what I mean?
I don't.
Do you disagree? Let's have a conversation about it.
Well, The Simpsons have been on for 700 years. I think that if Rick and Morty is on for that long, then it loses its luster. The Simpsons has lost its luster for me probably 5 seasons in.
Well, I haven't watched. To be fair, I feel like it's unfair. I haven't watched Simpsons in a very long time.
I also kind of feel if just shows that run too long, they just become unapproachable after a certain point.
Well, it's
it's just too much.
It's like South Park, right? But
yeah. South
Park, maybe you just get tired of the humor. I don't know, but I feel like there's always stuff there to kind of take a dark, humorous perspective on, and I think that's maybe why they renewed it for 70 episodes. I think that's probably something that they're picking up on. Is that it's what am I trying to say? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
I don't know what you're trying to say, Morty.
There's always a dark, humorous perspective on.
You're not making any sense, Morty. What are you talking about, Morty? What are you talking about, Morty? Come on, Morty. We gotta move on. We gotta get on with the show, Morty. Come on. We gotta go to the next. We gotta go to the next piece of news, Morty.
God, Rick, I don't know, man. And I don't know. I haven't.
Look, I'm gonna watch it.
I'm not current on it. Are you current on Rick and Morty?
No, I'm behind on Rick and Morty myself, but I will get around to watching probably. I saw part of the 3rd season, but I didn't finish it. But I'll watch it. I mean, I'll watch some of these 70 episodes. I mean, Archer's another one where I'm I think I watched the first 4 or 5 seasons of Archer and I loved it, but I'm 5 seasons behind on Archer and I'm maybe one day I'll get around to it. I don't know.
Well, it brings us back to what we're talking about tonight about just timely episodes. You can catch up on them, and it doesn't take a lot of time for you to do so. As long as you can catch them, that's my biggest problem with Rick and Morty is I can't. It's not easy for me to catch because I don't have a cable subscription, so I had to kind of wait for Hulu to catch up and everything else. It's a pain in the ass. and I think I fell behind, and so it's a pain in the ass for me to watch Rick and Morty, but it's something that I thoroughly enjoy and I'll be excited to watch. So 70 episodes, bring them on, and I'll watch them until they turn to shit. So
all right, well, hopefully that doesn't happen, but we will see. All right, more TV news in terms of cancellations, renewals, a bit of both in this case. Brooklyn Nine-Nine. A show that's a bit of a blind spot for me, admittedly. I've never watched it, but I've heard it's amazing, and it is certainly on my list of things to catch up on. It was canceled on Fox, and then 31 hours later, it had been renewed by NBC.
That's pretty ridiculous.
Pretty good success story here. Basically, this is a pretty beloved show, and there was big fucking uproar when this thing got canceled. I mean, you had a ton of people kind of like, going nuts on Twitter. Famous people like going nuts on Twitter. Lin-Manuel Miranda, Mark Hamill, Guillermo del Toro were all like, fuck this noise. And I think Netflix passed on it, Hulu passed on it, and things were looking pretty dire for a bit. And then NBC swoops in, saves the day.
Things were looking dire for less than 31 hours.
Yeah. Well, it was a day of people panicking and, rioting in the streets, man. They were setting cars on fire, burning some couches. It's insane. No, they probably weren't, unless they're in West Virginia. They do that sort of thing there. So
hey, man.
They do. Don't look. It's legitimately a thing. I'm not even just picking on West Virginia. That is just a thing they do.
Leave my home state out of this shit.
All right. Well, tell your cousins to stop burning couches. All right. It's not that difficult.
Why they gotta be my cousins? There you go again. What are you trying to say? Oh, you fuck.
Well, who lives up there that you know?
All right. Moving forward.
Bad news. This is the bad news that I kind of alluded to. The Expanse will be ending on SyFy after season 3 concludes later this year.
It's bullshit.
So this is kind of an interesting situation, and hopefully it's one that has a Brooklyn Nine-Nine-esque type ending. Unfortunately, as of recording this, that is not the case. But the show itself is produced by Alcon Television Group, so they fully finance and produce the series. But SyFy owned the live distribution rights, I think, so they could air it on television. And then Amazon has the U.S. distribution rights for streaming, and then Netflix has the international streaming rights internationally. So basically, it's kind of all over the place, and I think that's where things get complicated, is that SyFy was like, look, people don't watch this show live. We don't make money off of airing this show because it's just not worth the money that we're buying for the distribution rights because we don't get any return on investment. And, I mean, that's just kind of the way TV is a lot of these days, so it was just kind of a shitty situation for them. That said, they can go fuck themselves if this ends up being kind of the death knell for it, because I would be very pissed off if this does not find a new home somewhere.
Yeah. Please.
So, yeah, I mean, they're searching for a new home for it. Just the latest that I've seen is that Amazon is probably the last hope for this. It sounds like Netflix already passed on it.
God damn it.
And I don't really think that there's going to be any other real home for it, because any other network would run into the exact same issue that SyFy did. And it probably, I guess you could put it on a bigger network, to be fair, but at this point, I don't think that's going to happen. So I think our best hope is that Amazon takes an interest in it. And
is the viewership that limited? Do you know?
On a live basis, it is. Yeah. It just doesn't do well in the ratings. I mean, it reviews exceptionally well, especially this third season has. I mean, it's rocking 100% on Rotten Tomatoes right now, but it just doesn't. No one watches it on TV.
It's awful. It's so fucking good, dude. Last episode was ridiculous.
And part of the problem too is that SyFy only airs it on TV in the United States. There's another broadcast network that handles it in like Canada. It doesn't show on TV anywhere internationally. So to watch it internationally, you have to wait for Netflix to put it up, and Netflix doesn't put it up until the whole season's over. So it's kind of like
they just fucked themselves on how they.
Yeah, I think the way that they kind of
divvied up everything.
Sold. Yeah, exactly. How they divvied up the distribution rights in the first place. I think they might have inadvertently fucked themselves by doing this. But hope is not lost yet. It's not a it's not a whatever 31-hour renewal kind of whatever the what Brooklyn Nine-Nine was, but like I said, hope is not lost. So hopefully, come this time next week, we have positive news. I would say if we don't, then that's probably going to be that. Unfortunately,
that's awful.
But the good news is, I mean, it's not really that good of news, but there's a lot of books in the series, and they're going to still come out. So
they quit making the shows, read the books.
So yeah. It's the reverse Game of Thrones, effectively.
That's shitty. God, it's I don't even want to talk about it. Let's move on. I'm so deflated.
Like I said, hopefully we can bring this back around in a good way next week, but we'll see. Other renewals, there's a ton, but just ones that I figured were noteworthy. iZombie, I'm a fan. I haven't watched much of the 4th season, but I think that was one of the last CW shows to get renewed. And to say CW is a great network for renewing its shit. Like, they don't give a fuck if no one watches their shows, they'll still renew them. So this one was definitely kind of on the line for, I think, getting renewed, the bubble. But it's happening. It's getting a 5th season. Might be its last one. We'll see. Gotham is getting a 5th and final season.
I
episodes.
I don't mean to cut you off, but I see pictures of the Joker. And I don't mean to sound superficial or anything else, but I just see pictures from the show, promotional materials, and it's like, why are people watching this shit? How many seasons is this in? Do you know?
It's had 4 that's aired, so this upcoming one will be the 5th and final season.
Like, the whole premise is stupid, and if you watch the show, I'm sorry. Maybe you could comment and send us an email. Maybe we can have a discussion about it. But if you watch the show, I just don't understand. The premise seems stupid. The characters look stupid. Everything looks fucking awful about the show. And this is getting renewed for season 4.
5.
And the Expanse can't hit season 4.
Oh, it's also on a major network too, to be fair.
Yeah, well,
so
whatever. I don't know.
Well, it's true. You get Fox with a basic package. You don't get SyFy.
That's true. Yeah, I understand.
So that's kind of how the TV world works these days.
It's just upsetting. It's upsetting that good stuff gets passed up while Gotham gets renewed.
Well, I mean, you say that as someone that's never watched it.
Yeah, I do.
I say it as someone that watched the first 7 episodes of the first season. They were terrible.
Okay, well,
but
I thought you were about to tell me wrong.
No, I gave up very early on in this. I've heard that season 2 on, like, radically fixed the show. Like, they just went full tilt with it instead of trying to be this, thing that it was trying to be. They just went completely fucking batshit with it. Pun sort of intended. And I know people that swear by this show. So I don't know if it's an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. type thing, where you got to slog through it, and then once it turns the corner, it's worth the ride. I don't know if I'll ever invest the time myself, having
the premise just seems some amount of time. Stupid.
That's my issue with it, and it's one of those things. I mean, it's just an Elseworlds story of the DC universe with Bruce Wayne and Batman and all his rogues and stuff like that. So I can kind of just categorize it now as being like, look, it's not trying to be true to comics canon or anything like that. It's just kind of doing its own weird thing with things. And I don't know. I don't think those weird things sound interesting, but clearly there's an audience for it. So,
yeah, well, I guess.
I don't know. It's one that, it's just kind of eluded me. I just don't see myself going back at any point though. So, couple more renewals. Lost in Space is getting a 2nd season over at Netflix.
I'm excited to see where the 2nd season goes and how they handle things.
I think they can course correct with this one for me. I mean, I thought that season 1 was totally fine, and I think that there's room for this to improve greatly in the future. So I hope that it does exactly that. So yeah, I'll check out a 2nd season. And probably the best news in terms of renewals, I would say, is that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is not dead. It's coming back for a 6th season.
I'm excited about that. Yeah, that makes me happy.
So, shorter episode order, only 13 episodes for its 6th season. No word yet if this is going to be the final season, but one thinks that they've already pushed their luck a bit. So I'm hoping that, just from what I've seen with this fifth season, it seems like they tried to write it in a way that if it did end, it would end in a satisfying manner. So hopefully they would take a similar approach here with the sixth season and not leave it on like a cliffhanger like they did with Agent Carter, the dumb fucks.
I think I've made it perfectly clear for us recording, through our recordings and stuff. I am very much a fan of a shorter, more concise season. So if this happens to be the end, that's great. Write it and finish it and be done. But get all your, a shorter season lets you flesh all your ideas out without filler.
Well, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. kind of fixed it. It did by just creating the smaller
chapters,
many arcs within.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would agree with that, but they did it in this season. I think they did it the last season too, didn't they?
Yeah, they've definitely done it since at least season 4, but they might have. I don't know if season 3 was quite as segmented. I mean, season 4, it was very distinct pods. You had the Ghost Rider, the Ada one, and whatever the hell the other one, the Framework one, whatever that was called. So, I think this one's been 2.
Yeah, so they've done a good job of finding that balance between a long season, but 13 episodes, you should be able to tell a very concise story. So that sounds nice.
Yeah, I would expect they'd have one kind of contained arc across 13 episodes, and if that ends up kind of being the end of the show, then yeah, so be it. It's had a hell of a run, so I'd be okay if it if it goes out on its own terms. I think that's the way to do it. So all right, outside of the world of renewals, that was a lot. Except there's plenty more. Just do a quick Google search, I'm not lying. Some cool news here. Guillermo del Toro is working on a show for Netflix. It's going to be called Guillermo del Toro. Oh wait, hold on. I'm sorry. I need you to say his name for me. I don't know how to say it properly.
Guillermo del Toro. Guillermo del Toro
presents 10 After Midnight.
Guillermo del Toro presents 10 After Midnight.
Perfection. It's the streaming service's first original horror anthology series, described as a collection of the filmmaker's personally curated stories, described as both equally sophisticated and horrific.
That sounds fabulous.
He is going to write and direct some episodes, and he will handpick a team of top horror writers and new filmmakers to bring the other selections of stories to life.
That sounds fucking awesome.
I 100% agree. That does sound fucking awesome. This is what happens when this man wins a fucking Oscar. He's allowed to do his thing now. I still want At the Mountains of Madness. I still want it. Maybe someone's crazy enough to give him $200 million to do it at this point, but this will certainly do in the meantime.
I'm very excited.
I would say 2019 at the earliest, possibly later. I don't know if there's any actual date on this just yet. So look forward to hearing more details on that. Last bit of TV news. Doom Patrol is getting a TV series over at the DC Universe streaming service. So this is actually going to be a spinoff of sorts from Titans, which is going to be airing later this year on that same streaming service. And it is described as a reimagining of one of DC's most beloved groups of outcast superheroes. It'll feature the likes of Negative Man, Elastigirl, Crazy Jane, all these characters you've heard of and love. Right?
Yeah, dude, I'm all over it.
I gotta say, Doom Patrol for me is a bit of a blind spot. I'm not really familiar with these characters at all. I know there's a semi-recent run of comics that I think are pretty well regarded, but if you asked me anything about them, I would draw a blank. I just don't know anything about them. The series official logline, though, I can give you a little bit more details, is that each of the members suffered horrible accidents that gave them superhuman abilities, but also left them scarred and disfigured. And then they find purpose through the chief, who brings them together to investigate the weirdest phenomena in existence and to protect Earth from what they find. So they're part support group, part superhero team. They're a band of superpowered freaks who fight for a world that wants nothing to do with them. Picks up after the events of Titans. It finds these heroes in a place they never expected to be, called to action by none other than ... Cyborg, who comes to them with a mission hard to refuse, but with a warning that is hard to ignore. Their lives will never, ever be the same.
Okay.
I know the cyborg cameo got you, didn't it?
It really has me pumped. I'm real excited.
I'm looking forward to this. I think Titans will probably be a pretty good indication of how this would shape up. I think one of the episodes of Titans is going to have the Doom Patrol in it, so that'll kind of give you a pretty good idea of what to expect, I would imagine.
My level of excitement is limited to their animated stuff. So when they can prove me wrong, I will show excitement about different things. But
yeah. Well, it's worth noting that these aren't part of the CW universe, or
the cinematic universe, for that matter.
I would assume that DC's given up on that at this point, but yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens.
I think they're content doing
the
their own
only
thing
that DC has of any merit, to me, in my personal opinion, is the animated stuff that they put out, which is really good. We'll get into that in the catching up section, because I recently caught a recent release from DC, and I was thoroughly entertained. So. And here recently, that's about the only thing that really entertains me from DC stuff, which is unfortunate because they have.
Yeah, well, you're wrong, but that's okay. Their comics are significantly better than Marvel's output has been for years now.
So. Well, I don't read a lot of the shit, but just in
terms of movies, yes. In terms of cinematic releases, yes.
Yeah,
very much so. Very much so.
That's it.
That's it. I thought we were going to get ready for our main content, but of course we've got to talk about the box office breakdown.
Box office breakdown.
So just a brief update on Avengers Infinity War, but of course it has had its third weekend in America. Grossed $61.8 million. It has now crossed $500 million domestically, which isn't bad. Not bad. Of course, it's making money. It's going to keep making money. Deadpool and Solo are going to cut off its legs a bit in these coming weeks, but shouldn't have any trouble crossing $600 million domestically. See if it makes $700 million. But outside of America, it made its debut in China, where it grossed $199.3 million in its opening weekend. So it was this close to cracking that $200 million threshold. It would have made it the first time that any movie had opened in two separate territories with more than $200 million. So it just missed out on that mark. But it's the second highest 3-day opening in China of all time, just a hair behind the Fate of the Furious. Chinese love them some Fast and Furious, man. And they love them some Avengers, just not quite as much. Although I think there was a little... I think that the conversion rate for their currency kind of fucked with this a little bit. So can't remember if it was the other way where it sold more tickets, but it made a lower gross because of the way the economy is, or if it's the other way around. But anyway, it's a pretty good fucking debut. It's at $1.6 million. Doesn't sound right. 1.6. Does that sound right? 1.6.
Yeah, it's 1.6 million, dude. 1.607 million?
Yeah, no, I'm getting my decimals in the wrong place. 1,006. That's very confusing. It's at $1 billion. $1.6 billion. That's what I'm trying to find. Jesus Christ. It's at $1.6 billion worldwide. That's what I'm looking for. So it's approaching the $2 billion threshold.
Ooh.
Something that only 2 movies in history have ever crossed.
Number 5 of all time. What's number 1 right now? Do you know?
Avatar.
Avatar's still number 1?
Avatar is at $2.7 billion worldwide. It's a full $1 billion ahead of Avengers.
Oh my goodness.
Avatar is not going to be broken worldwide for a long time. A long time.
What's number 2?
Number 2 is, I want to say, The Force Awakens. Or it could be Titanic. But I think The Force Awakens did beat it ever so slightly. Let me do a quick fact check on myself. Worldwide. Oh, Titanic's number 2 still. So 3 movies have crossed $2 billion worldwide. Titanic's number 2 and Force Awakens is number 3. Jurassic World currently sits at number 4 with 1,671,000,000. So Avengers will easily crack Jurassic World, and it will
rightfully so.
probably come close to Force Awakens, possibly break it, depending on how its legs shape up over the next few weeks. So that's the box office breakdown. It's time to talk about some TV shows, and I'm excited to talk about these TV shows because I had a pretty good time with both of them. First one we're going to talk about is Cobra Kai, which, as we've talked about, is a YouTube Red original series. It's created by John Hurwitz, Hayden Schlossberg, and Josh Heald. Stars, of course, the stars of The Karate Kid, Ralph Macchio as Daniel LaRusso, and William Zabka as Johnny Lawrence. It's set 30 years after the events of the 1984 All-Valley Karate Tournament, as depicted in The Karate Kid. And it focuses on Johnny Lawrence, who reopens the Cobra Kai dojo, which causes his rivalry with Daniel LaRusso to be reignited. Cobra Kai, man, this shit came out of nowhere, didn't it?
It did. And it came out of nowhere in a big way. On YouTube Red, nonetheless, I think that's worth talking about too. I didn't have a YouTube Red subscription before this, and to be honest with you, I mean I haven't explored a lot of the other content or a lot of the benefits for YouTube Red. I anticipate I'll cancel it before my 30-day free subscription. But I would say that every single one of our listeners should sign up for a 30-day free subscription solely for the purpose of watching the show, because the show is incredibly well made. The soundtrack is awesome. The choreography is awesome. The acting is awesome. I think it's a very awesome story. I was actually very blown away by this. I was surprised. I was super surprised. I don't know how you feel about it, but I didn't catch up with The Karate Kid. I didn't rewatch the first movie. I just kind of jumped right in. And you don't have to, be fair. I really don't think that you have to watch The Karate Kid before you watch the show. I feel like it integrates you in a very organic way to pick up with these characters. But it's fucking so good. Such a good show. What'd you think about it, dude? Tell me about it.
I think that this show is legitimately great. Yeah. I thought this was an amazing show. It kind of surpassed all of my wildest expectations for this, which I didn't really have any, I guess, walking in,
I think it makes a big difference, to be fair.
I did, kind of have that same sort of reaction of, ooh, YouTube Red, okay. Like I kind of expected, like a Funny or Die kind of sketch vibe to it. And it wasn't that at all. This shit would have easily been perfectly, right in line on Netflix or any of these other premiere, platforms, it fits right in with that. And, to be fair, again, I also haven't really explored outside of this as far as YouTube Red is concerned. I'll probably take, advantage of my 30-day trial and see if there's anything else that's worth my while. But I would be very, very surprised if anything even touches the quality of this. It is just a wonderful love letter to the original Karate Kid. So, in regard to whether you need to watch the Karate Kid, I would say that you didn't need to watch it immediately. I don't think you need to watch it outright, I guess, but I would say that it loses a lot.
I have familiarity. I've seen
right. That's
Karate
what I'm saying.
Kid.
Like, you've seen it in the past. You understand what the Karate Kid. You know who Mr. Miyagi is and all that. Right. I kind of feel like if you don't have any sort of background, like if you've just never straight up seen the Karate Kid at all, I feel like you're kind of doing yourself a disservice. But it does definitely reintegrate you very easily. There's a lot of archival footage that they use from the Karate Kid. There's some from the Karate Kid too. And there's references to other films in the series too, but the first one is very much, front and center as to kind of framing where these characters are 30 years later, from the, end of the events from the first Karate Kid.
And goddamn, is it such a realization of these characters, man? It's so good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like it is, like, it's a love letter. It's not just that it's so referential to everything. Like it feels like it understands these characters. Like it strikes at the core of all of these characters. I rewatched the first Karate Kid like pretty much immediately before starting up with this because it had been at least a few years since I'd seen it. There was parts of it that I like kind of totally forgot about. Like I don't know, I didn't remember Mr. Miyagi beating the shit out of those kids at all. I straight up didn't remember that. I remember wax on, wax off, paint the fence. I remember all that. I remember the karate tournament at the end.
You remember an old ass man kicking the shit out of a bunch of teenagers?
I didn't remember that at all. I remembered a lot of it, but there was things in it that I just kind of totally had been blocked out from my memory just because I hadn't seen it in so long. And I think it greatly enhanced my viewing watching it immediately before it. And the sense, because a lot of the broad strokes of the plot are pretty much kind of told to you, through the footage, through just kind of the characters and kind of where they are, their interactions and stuff like that. But there's a lot of just little touches and stuff, like revisiting certain locations, like the golf and stuff. And, sometimes it's pretty obvious kind of what they're doing. They talk about it, within the scene of like, oh, this is blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of that where it's just like, okay. But having just watched a lot of it, I was just like, oh, fuck, that's cool. Oh, fuck, that's really cool. And a lot of the dialogue is lifted wholesale, but not in a way that it feels like a carbon copy. It feels
organic.
Like, it feels like a respectful homage to what came before while still, branching out and doing something new. And I think that's kind of also what surprised me most about this show is that I expected to enjoy the interactions between, Ralph Macchio and William Zabka because, it's been a few years, obviously for both of those guys, I mean, Karate Kid was effectively their careers, when you think about it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So obviously there's kind of a strong connection, I would say, for those two actors to the franchise in general.
And it's interesting to see how that reflects in their characters too, because it's very much the case with both of them. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying is I expected that to kind of be the core of the show, and I think it is, but I expected to enjoy that. I expected to enjoy their interactions, the rivalry continued. I kind of expected that, and I got that, and I was very happy with that. But what really kind of took me by surprise is that I enjoyed kind of the new generation of characters just as much. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what makes this show soar, and I think that's what would make it work for someone that doesn't have any sort of reverence or understanding of the source material, is that there's still enough in there that, you could watch this as a new iteration of The Karate Kid. There's no real reason you couldn't do that. So all the new characters, you got Miguel, Robbie, Sam, there's a lot going on with a lot of these characters. And I think that is, that's really something to write home about this show. We can talk about it a little bit more in spoilers as far as kind of how great these characters are and kind of the journeys that these characters go through. But fucking hell, man, this is a damn good show. I was really happy with it. I actually just finished watching it maybe an hour or so prior to recording this, so it's all very fresh in my mind. I watched the first 6 episodes yesterday, and then I finished it up today. Yeah. That's kind of what I got right now. Soundtrack's pretty good.
Soundtrack blew me away. Like from the first episode, I was like, "Oh, I'm all about this." And it's not even just the soundtrack; it's the soundtrack along with the style, because the style I feel like the style very much tracks with the main point of view character. It's almost somebody stuck in their high point. You know what I'm saying? Like for the main character there, his character is very much rooted in who he was during a certain era, and that I think that follows. You got a bunch of 80s rock.
I think there's a bit of that with kind of both of the central characters. I think as we kind of pick up, with Johnny in his main kind of life, where we pick up with him, he's very much kind of stuck in the past. But I think that once he kind of integrates with Daniel pretty much reverts back to being a kid again.
Absolutely.
The personalities between them just kind of, they go, they're suddenly 30 years younger again. They're acting like kids again. So that's kind of what I enjoyed so much of it, is that, it didn't feel like a rehash, but it felt like a true to life examination of these characters and kind of the depths behind them.
Right.
And, we got a bit of that in the Karate Kid, but I think this one, by the very nature of having 10 episodes of 30 minutes to play with, you get a little bit more room to explore.
It's paced very well. I feel like the show is paced.
I agree.
I mean, just it's the perfect example of this is the story that you have to tell it and be done with. There's no filler in this show. I mean, it does exactly what it intends to do, and it does it in very, very deliberate pacing. And I think that that's something that misses out, that a bunch of different shows miss out on, because they sign up for so many different episodes, and they feel like there's so much content that they have to produce. But this, it's boom, 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 boom. This is the story, and this is what you get, and you can tell that it's not full of filler. It's really good. I think that goes with both of our shows. I think that we're going to be covering.
Yeah, no, I agree. I would actually say, certainly in the case of Cobra Kai, I wanted more. I'm ready for another 10 episodes, if we're being honest. I don't think it needs 10 episodes. I think it told a very complete story, but it left me, engaged in such a way where I'm like, fuck, I need more of this. Like,
yeah,
give me more.
And
give me more.
That should be the point, right? Like, when you finish season 1 of a show, it should leave you wanting more for season 2.
Yeah, well, the thing is, of any of the shows that we've watched recently for this podcast, I don't remember feeling this way with any of them.
No, I mean,
I mean, super recently, I guess, Lost in Space. I want to see a season 2, but I didn't need to see it immediately.
A season 2 solely because you feel like it didn't deliver on the first season.
Yeah, well, I said I kind of wanted to see it, right the ship.
Right.
Jessica Jones, like I will watch season 3, but I didn't need another 13 episodes then and there.
That's it. It's very organic for this show to pick up where it left off, yet it feels very complete where it ended.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, if there wasn't going to be a second season of this, which there will be, it's already been renewed, just as an FYI. If there wasn't going to be a second season, I would be content with what we got.
Yeah, absolutely.
But knowing that there's more gets me excited at the prospect of it. So, yeah.
Very good show. Do we move into the spoilers?
Well, we can move into our recommendation. I think we can both say that we liked it very much, but we need to officially rate it in line with our new TV show rating scale. Which
renew everybody on this.
Yeah, we got to refresh everyone's memories because this is new. We're still breaking it in. So there's 5 tiers for how we recommend our TV shows. There is Shithouse. That's the bottom. That's the bottom of the bottom. There's fine, just fine. There's totally fine, which is the middle ground. Then there's yes, and then there's very yes. Very yes is the highest you can go. So, me personally, I am a very yes on this show. This show just hit the mark for me in pretty much every which way. As someone that likes The Karate Kid, rewatched it just before and got sucked into it all over again, I got even more sucked into this show than I did the movie, which I think is pretty insane to kind of think about in that regard. It's fucking really good. The way that it handles all its characters is fantastic. The way that it reuses a lot of the same settings and ideas of the original Karate Kid, but, pays such respect to them and honors that and, brings it into a new generation, I think it's nothing short of brilliant. So, very yes. # very yes.
I would agree with you. I say it is a very yes show, for sure. I think production values are high. I think the soundtrack is awesome. I think it's well acted. If you're invested in the existing characters and the universe of the Karate Kid, I think that there's a lot to walk away from. If you're not invested in those characters, I think it easily tells a story of middle-aged men or just middle-aged people in general being committed or just being extensions of their younger selves and telling that kind of story, and how they fit into where everything's at currently. I think it tells a very touching story. I think it does so I think the humor's spot on. The comedy is hilarious. I laughed my ass off throughout every episode. I thought it was great. I just think it's a totally awesome story that's worth telling. Almost like the original Karate Kid. The original Karate Kid was awesome. I'm all about it. I'm all about those 80s vibes. Sometimes it makes me wonder if I grew up in the wrong era. Just because how I feel every time I watch something 80s. I think 80s are fucking cool, man. But yeah, I'm all about it. Go out and you can watch it for free. That's the thing. Subscribe, 30-day free trial. Check it out. You can watch it on the YouTube. You can watch it on your phone.
Don't do that.
You can watch it for free. There is no reason why you can't watch this show. There's no excuse not to watch it. Everybody watches YouTube.
Yeah, and just kind of as a side note for that, you can actually watch the first 2 episodes totally free without YouTube Red, without even the free 30-day trial. So you can give it, an hour's worth of your time, see if it's anything that you like. I think that within the first 2 episodes, you get a pretty good feel for kind of what it is.
You'll be sold.
I think it gets better than those first 2 episodes, but I think you can definitely get a pretty good grasp on what's going on. I watched the first 2 and I immediately dumped my credit card information into the system, so that's kind of where it left me. So
yeah, because to be fair, when we were debating on doing this episode, we were debating on doing one or the other. Obviously, we both have Netflix accounts. YouTube Red is something completely different. But after watching those first 2 episodes, we were. I can speak for myself. I was. No problem. Bloop. Subscription done because it was just it was spot on. So.
Yes, and I agree with you. Humor was top notch. I don't think I mentioned that. I say there's a lot of heart, but there's a lot of humor to it all. It's great. So spoilers?
Definitely.
All right, full spoilers for Cobra Kai season 1. So I kind of alluded to it already, but I just think that the journey, the transformations that the characters go through is fucking awesome. Like across the board in general, I think that there's a lot. I think Johnny and Daniel probably at the forefront is a big one, but like I said when I was talking about the new generation, like I thought that the way they handled Miguel and Robbie was awesome as kind of the reverse. It's I don't know, it's necessarily the reverse of each other, but it's kind of what if Daniel was trained by whatever the fuck his name is. Kreese, the evil Cobra Kai guy from the first Karate Kid, and it's what if Johnny was trained by Mr. Miyagi? Like that's kind of the base concept between those two, and it's such a fucking interesting idea that they explore so well with kind of the characterizations where Miguel,
and not even those younger characters either, but like the characters of the senseis, right? Like yes, I feel like Daniel started out. I don't know. He's very much rooted in Mr. Miyagi, but there's a lot of growth in Johnny as well. I feel like Johnny has a tremendous, because he's watching the past repeat itself, but he doesn't know how to correct it.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of depth to Johnny in the original movie too, where Kreese is all like, sweep the leg and do all this bullshit, and he's like, I'm what?
That's wrong.
I'm not going to do that. Johnny is very conflicted. I think even in the first movie, we don't really get the glimpses into his past that this show offers as kind of why he is the way he is. But there is a bit of that in the first movie, but it's Daniel's movie. Johnny's the bad guy, and this one's kind of about reframing that to say that, hey, I don't know that either of them are necessarily the good or the bad guy. There's lots of shades of gray with both of these characters.
That's it, man. Shades of gray. And that's what life is. It's all shades of gray, man.
How many shades of gray are there in this show?
50.
Oh,
There's
no.
50.
Oh, no.
But, they're very complex characters. And it's a very rewarding experience. I think it's a well-told story. And it's something that I did not expect to be told so well. Yeah, there's a lot of humor and everything else, but there's a lot of depth to these people, and they feel like real people.
Yeah, no, I mean, so you kind of cut me off when I was getting to it.
I'm sorry.
But I thought that, like Miguel was probably the prime example of someone that, he's the quote unquote loser at the beginning, and then, he's going for the cheap shots by the end to get the trophies, turns into an asshole. He's beating on girls. I mean, he says it's an accident, but I tell
you who my favorite is. My favorite's fucking Lip, aka Hawk.
Yeah. Hawk went fucking full tilt, man. Hawk is definitely the MVP of the season, I would say.
I laughed my ass off. That motherfucker got a tattoo of an eagle on his back, or a hawk on his back, I guess.
That was amazing. Yeah, his whole character there was incredible.
180 in an episode. It was awesome.
Yeah. I thought all the characters. Robbie, was kind of. I guess he kind of starts the whole scheme to get revenge on his dad, but I think he forms a legitimate bond with, the Miyagi-ized version of Daniel. So yeah, no, there's a lot of really good, just the way that these characters kind of, develop throughout. I liked Sam too. We see, obviously a hint to her being a future karate kid herself. Returning to the world of karate, I guess. So I'm excited to see that. There's a bit, it's interesting because, rewatching the first movie, there's a lot of the 80s high school type, vibes to it. And this one, they did a really good job of updating it to modern sensibilities, with cyberbullying and, a lot of stuff like that. Which, as I say, this is a side note, and it had me dying, but I kind of feel bad about it, but the guy in the blue gi at the end, the last episode, when he's like, I need to give a speech, I want to take a moment of silence. Oh my god,
we like to fight, but we all fight against hate. What the fuck are you talking about, dude?
Oh my god, there's just so much well-timed humor in this. It's incredible.
Yeah, and then immediately. Johnny says, "You kick that bitch in his face."
Yeah, say Johnny's so irreverent. It's incredible.
It's great. It's fucking cool.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Immediately the first when I knew I liked this show is when he's sitting there trying to eat his pizza, and then he just kicks the shit out of those teenagers.
Yeah.
It's like, you're going to go to fucking jail. You can't just kick the shit out of a bunch of kids.
Well, I was waiting for it. I was like, there's going to be consequences here. He does briefly go to jail. Apparently not his first foray into the jail system.
But that's what Mr. Miyagi did, right?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not as, I don't know, but...
And he got away with it.
What it does is it shows, and that's something it's something that the show represents, is things that were maybe okay then are completely different now, And I think that guy that was in the blue, he, when he says, although we'd like to fight, blah, 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 and I want to take a moment of silence, things are different than the way they used to be then, And, I don't know. I just think it tells a very interesting story that isn't told regularly. As far as that's concerned, because it's something that I go through every day at work and blah, 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 blah. I have to hear about, your generation this and your generation that, and I constantly see this shit on a daily basis. And I found the show really entertaining in that regard. That's probably why, the number one thing I would write home about is how the generations are different. But that's a totally separate discussion. So.
All right, we're going out of the rabbit hole. Last minute thoughts I have before we need to, get going and move on to our next show we're going to talk about.
Do it.
I thought that the references to Mr. Miyagi were very tasteful and respectful. And I wanted to say rest in peace to Pat Morita, who is fucking excellent, having just rewatched The Karate Kid. I guess so we see a lot of him actually in the show through the archival footage, and we see a lot of him kind of reflected through Daniel's teachings. But I thought a lot of the scenes there were great. When he visits the headstone, I thought that was a really wonderful scene. Episode 9 might have been my favorite. I think that was the one where that's the one where Johnny and Daniel kind of catch up and they go to the bar and start drinking and they kind of realize, hey, we're not so different, And then of course shit goes sideways by the end, but that's how things go. So I think that's pretty much it. Oh, and the cafeteria fight was fucking excellent. Like that was awesome.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that a lot. So season 2, like I said, it's been renewed. We got the tease of Sensei Kreese returning at the very end. So that seems like that's definitely a villain character to look forward to in the second season. I think Hawk, just based on his actions in that karate tournament, might find a new sensei. I think because Johnny was obviously very conflicted at the tail end of like, oh shit, we didn't really win it the right way or the way I wanted it to go. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they pick up for a second season, won't it?
Totally.
And on that note, are you ready to move on?
Yes, let's move on.
Okay. So our next show, our last show we're going to be covering for the day, is the Netflix original series, The Rain. It's a Danish show. We talked about the trailer a little while back. I was very specific about the fact that it was Danish, and it remains Danish. And I say that as many times as possible because I'm going to try to say these names to the best of my ability. So, this show was created by Yannick Taimo Schult, Esben Toft Jacobsen, and Christian Podolivo. Good lord. It stars Alba August, Lucas Lindgaard Tonnessen, Miguel Bo Foshgard, Lucas Loken, Jessica Dinage, Sonny Lindberg, and Angela Bundelovich.
I applaud you, sir. That was nice. Excellent delivery.
So I probably bungled a good half of those names unintentionally. So
Lucas Loken. I like that one.
Any of our Danish listeners, I apologize for that. I just can't do anything with.
We have a language barrier.
Yeah.
Send us a message.
Yeah. So the Rain is after a brutal virus wipes out most of the population, 2 young siblings embark on a perilous search for safety. So The Rain, 8 episodes, as you mentioned, pretty short. These are a little bit longer. I think they ranged from around 35 to 42, 45 minutes. So it's a little over a half hour, but it's certainly well under the, close to the hour mark that a lot of the Netflix shows have. And short and sweet. I think that was a big boon for this show, is that it was short and sweet. It is, pretty sure you watched it subtitled, I assume?
I did.
Okay. It wasn't, I don't know if you had to change the settings on yours. It actually defaulted to the dub on mine. I had to manually change it to the subtitles. I don't understand dubbing personally. I mean, I get it, but I don't get it. So, we both watched it in the original filming language of Danish with English subtitles. So if that's something that skeeves you out for whatever reason, then, just be aware of that, I guess. But this show, The Rain, what'd you think about it?
I thought it was good. I don't think it was good as Cobra Kai, but I did enjoy it. I thoroughly enjoyed the show. I don't want to sell it short. It's just Cobra Kai is... I just think... I don't know. Cobra Kai is just very fucking good. Whereas this is... this one's just good. I think some of it is... what's the word I'm looking for? Contrived. I think it's a contrived show.
Yes.
But it does... there's a lot of post-apocalyptic shit out there to watch, and a lot of it is not very good. Not that those stories aren't worth telling, because I think they're very humanizing experience that these people go through, and I think that they're stories that are worth telling. I just don't think a lot of stories are told well, and I do think that these stories and these characters are explored in interesting ways, and I think there's a lot of depth to the characters. But I think I think it's a little bit more, there's a lot more characters in this show than there are in Cobra Kai, and I think that a lot of those characters are explored better in Cobra Kai than this show. But I did enjoy things. I did enjoy this show were I enjoyed the score. I enjoyed the tension. I just enjoyed the kind of sci-fi-esque feel of the show. And I enjoyed the cinematography. I thought it was a very well shot show. But it's just it's apples and oranges. But I think that Cobra Kai is a better told story. And I feel bad putting these two in the same episode because I don't want to sell The Rain short because I think it's an excellent show that you should watch. But yeah, how'd you feel about it?
I don't think it's excellent. I think it's good. It's not great. I enjoyed it. I have my issues with it. We actually both watched this before Cobra Kai, and I will agree that, watching Cobra Kai on the heels of this, apples and oranges, yes, in terms of tone and, type of content and stuff like that. But I had a much better time with Cobra Kai overall. I felt like, The Rain for me was just the right amount of episodes, whereas Cobra Kai I was like, fuck, I need more. I didn't have that feeling with The Rain, I guess is what I'm saying. Like, it wasn't like, shit, I need 8 more of these. I was just like, I'm glad it was 8. I think if it was any longer, I think if these episodes were any longer, it might have worn thin on me after a while. But I think that there's a lot to like here. I think the setting itself is very interesting. I liked this whole concept of, the virus being carried by the rain. There's a lot of contrivances here and there, specifically in regard to the rain, in terms of kind of how characters act. That's a little frustrating at times. It's a little much. Talk about it, I guess, a little bit more in spoilers. I don't want to get too involved with that right now. But I think that where this show shines for me is that it pays special attention to the characters, as you mentioned, and I think that's where it works, is that there's a lot for me that worked with these characters. I thought that the characters were relatable. I thought that the show very specifically went out of its way to give each character a little bit of background, something to help you kind of understand the character, as they are now, kind of who they were, before, this world got turned into this post-apocalyptic dystopian type environment that it is kind of when we pick up, for most of the show. And I think that is kind of where it shined, is, letting these characters really kind of move the piece, I think that it's a pretty predictable show overall. It kind of hits on a lot of common post-apocalyptic type things in terms of characters, environments they encounter and such. Sometimes the characters are a little dumb, shall we say. Again, it kind of falls back into that idea of it's a little contrived here and there, they have an idea of where they want the characters to get to, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's just like, yeah, you probably could have written that a little bit, more neatly, I suppose. But I really liked the concept of it. And I really liked the characters, and I thought they were all brought to life very well by all the actors.
It was tense as fuck in the beginning, too. I don't know if you felt that sort of tension. I thought they conveyed the tension very well.
Yeah, no, I thought this was... Yeah, I had a good time with this one. I mean, it's one that I watched in the span of a day. I spent... I didn't watch, one, right after the other. I took a little bit of breaks between episodes here and there, but, pretty much throughout the span of a Saturday, I watched all 8 episodes, and I was happy doing so.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like a slog. I was a little bit compelled to do so, because I think you were pretty much done with both shows at that point. I was like, shit, I need to kind of get, on the horse a little bit and get through these things. But I felt comfortable kind of watching 8 episodes at a good pace throughout a single day, and I felt happy kind of, getting a little bit more understanding for these characters, and, kind of just seeing the plot unfold, and it's like, okay, where's it going to go now? Where's it going to go now? Sometimes I knew where it was, sometimes it, it veered, into sometimes unexpected territory, but I had a good time with it. I liked it. I don't really know what else to say about it, I guess.
There's nothing, I mean, everything else will be in spoilers, pretty much.
Yeah, I think that's probably what it is. I'm kind of dancing around kind of more specifics of it in terms of the issues I had and things I liked a little bit more specifically, too. So, yeah, I mean, if you had to pick one of these two shows, you know, in terms of recommendation, Cobra Kai is absolutely the way to go. It's certainly just a more approachable show in general, whether it's a language barrier. Honestly, you know, comedy, I think comedy sells a little bit better, and there's not really a whole lot of comedy in this show. You know, I guess there's moments of levity here and there.
Plus, there's an existing universe for Cobra Kai as well.
True. So again, yeah, obviously, if you have any sort of affinity for the Karate Kid franchise, then that's something that, you know, would probably appeal to you more immediately. This one, you've got to invest yourself into not only the universe, but, you know, just the kind of everything that happens in this, you know, investing yourselves into brand new characters, you know. So it's certainly much more of an investment of kind of, you know, breaking into new territory with it. So in terms of recommendation, in terms of our scale, I would say this is a yes for me. A hashtag yes. So it's, I think it's a cut above. You're totally fine. I think I called Lost in Space totally fine, and I definitely enjoyed this a lot more than I enjoyed Lost in Space. And
Absolutely.
I do think a lot of that is owed to the length and pacing of it. But I mean, there's something to be said for length and pacing for a show. Like, it's a pretty big fucking deal. You know, we feel like we bitch about it every time Netflix puts a show out, and it's like, did this need to be 13 episodes that were an hour long apiece? No, it did not. And this one kind of avoided that pitfall. And
it makes a dramatic difference in the show.
It does. It really does. I mean, it did greatly impact kind of my enjoyment of the show of like, yeah, this is so much more digestible. You know, if you have content that fucking demands 13 episodes, then, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that it seems like more often than not, that's not the case. Whereas this one is just like, hey, we know the story we want to tell. Let's tell it in as many episodes as we need to tell it. And, you know, some of the episodes are shorter than others, and that's fine. I mean, honestly, the way that this thing is edited, it kind of feels like a longer movie. You know, there's not a whole, it's not like super episodic in terms of how it kind of transitions between episodes. Outside of kind of the frame story, I think per episode is kind of the biggest way that it differentiates itself kind of between episodes. But in terms of the serialized plot, in terms of getting things moving, like it's all, you know, it's very quick about kind of getting from point to point, and I liked that.
That's it. Yeah, it has a story that it wants to tell, and it tells it. I think it's. I mean, pacing defines a show. I think, you know. I mean, if you're not well paced, then
it defines a movie too.
Yeah, no, that's true. But I in shows in particular, when you
I guess the difference, sorry, I'm cutting you off, but the difference is a show is potentially 10 hours versus a movie of 2
Correct.
hours. So you can forgive bad pacing in 2 hours, whereas 10 hours, it can really, you start to really feel it when you get to the third, fourth hour.
I've talked about my personal feelings about ranking shows. There's a lot of shows that could be watched. You know what I mean? But if you demand 10 hours of my time or 13 hours of my time or whatever the episode list is for a show, you better have a story that needs to be told. You know what I'm saying? Otherwise, you're wasting a lot of my time. And I feel like neither one of these shows wasted any time telling what they wanted to tell. I think that everything was told in a very organic way, and I think they're stories that are worth telling. I thoroughly enjoyed both of them. If you're going to watch one or the other, if you're only going to dedicate so much time, dedicate it to Cobra Kai. Not that there's anything wrong with The Rain, but I think like The Rain is more... I
think it's probably got much more of a niche appeal to begin with.
It's definitely more niche. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's pretty good. I like it.
Okay.
I like it a lot.
What does that translate to on a scale?
What was it?
Well, is it totally fine? Yes or very yes. I picked yes personally. It's a not quite Cobra Kai level, but it's good. It's good in its own right.
Yeah, it's right. It's below Cobra Kai. It's one below Cobra Kai.
All right.
So yes.
So we agree. We agree. Yes, we agree. Okay, well, we can get into spoilers then for this, right?
Yeah, totally.
All right, full spoilers for The Rain. So I guess just kind of pick up, on what I was talking about. and I guess both of us were talking about contrivances is kind of the big thing with this one, I think really from the get-go, the way that the mom gets killed, like in the beginning, it was
That's fucking stupid. That was stupid.
No, and the big accident on the highway, and then like they were like, oh shit, we can just run to our bunker from here, and I'm like,
where were you driving?
What? Yeah, like if you're that close, then why were you still driving that direction? Like I got over a lot of that. I think once it kind of got established into the the 6 years later time jump, but like initially I was just like, oh, I don't know what Andrew was seeing in this show, but I think it definitely righted the ship pretty quickly by the end of the first episode. There's bits and pieces of things that were kind of a little over the top. It occasionally delves into CW-esque pairings of characters.
I thought that's what you were all about. I remember telling you explicitly.
Well, some of it I didn't mind. Some of it I didn't mind in the sense that like Beatrice was she's a very manipulative character. We kind of saw that with how she interacted with all the male characters. I thought that was interesting for her, to kind of add to her character. But there was it was sometimes like it would just like they would just go off to the side. They do the flash thing like, can I talk to you for a minute? And they go into another room and be like, oh, so I see you're crushing hard on blah blah blah, and I'm like,
I thought that's what you were about, dude.
It works when it works, but there were moments in this where I kind of felt like it kind of pulled me out of the narrative a little bit. I'm like, is this really an important conversation to be having right now?
I remember calling you and saying, listen, dude, there's a lot of CW-isms in this. A couple of little love triangles. I think you'll be all about it, man.
I don't mind me some love triangles, as long as they, as long as they're organic. I'm all about the organic.
It's got its problems, but I think when it hits emotionally, it hits pretty good. There was. How'd you feel about the cannibal situation?
I definitely thought that they were cannibals.
I thought they were cannibals too. I totally called that shit.
From the beginning. I'm like, this is that was one of those things where I'm talking about, like, this is kind of a very post-apocalyptic type thing. And it kind of makes sense for the world that they built, is that people would start eating each other. I mean, the whole of the show, like everyone's scavenging for food. It only seems logical that people would, lose their minds enough that they'd say, hey, let's start eating people. I don't know if they would organize it in such a fashion, especially when they have like a seemingly fertile garden and stuff like that. I was kind of just like, all right,
why wouldn't you just be vegan, bro?
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, I guess they wanted a little balance for their diet, but I was surprised how far they took it, because it kind of jumped throughout the dinner sequence, and then they're like, hope you guys enjoyed it, as Martine was kind of like, oh fuck, that's a torso in the freezer, but anyway, I said it kind of dived into the usual kind of tropes and this type of genre, this type of setting, but I enjoyed it. It was a little unnerving, kind of watching it, how everything unfolded.
Yeah, that girl got, date raped and shit and all that awful shit. Yeah. Oh, man.
I thought that, I think that probably my strongest point I loved the decision to kind of basically take, certainly, I guess, the first 6 episodes and have each one be, the character-centric episode for whatever character it was, and, it added a lot of depth to a lot of these characters in terms of who they were before the reign and then who they were, in the present day. So obviously we got a lot of Simone and Rasmus in the first episode, which again was a little contrived, but I thought that the other characters a lot of the stories were really compelling with a lot of them. Martine, the whole thing with the lady with the baby walking in, and man, like that was pretty wild. Definitely a good way of kind of setting the stakes for the virus in this universe. Beatrice, we got a little bit more of her. I guess her first meeting with Martine and Patrick and stuff like that. Jean, fucking smothers the little girl to death. Like, holy fucking shit! Like that was nuts. And then Leia, the one you're talking about, where. Yeah, that was probably the most fucking insane one of them all, I would say. That was heartbreaking to watch.
Yeah, I mean it just the depth of the characters I thought were pretty well done. I think the situations they found themselves in were contrived, but I thought that the characters were pretty fleshed out. And like I said, I think it's a show worth watching. So
yeah. Honestly, I mean, I kind of felt like once it got through the flashbacks, the first 6 episodes, I kind of didn't love how it ended. I don't know if you felt the same way.
It just kind of dad was a shithead.
Yeah, once they kind of made their way back to Apollon, Rasmus was immune. Beatrice dies. You were speculating that it's the Rasmus sperm that infected her.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Well, yeah. Well, the reason I think that is because he bit. Did he bite that chick that was trying to swab his mouth?
I don't know if he bit her or he just scratched her. I don't know.
Well, he either scratched her or something, and she died. That dude that kissed him on the forehead died. I think it's got to be something with the fluids. I think bodily fluids.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I mean, also the dog could have just licked her, and they very clearly telegraphed that. Hey, look, hey, it's not fair that the animals, can carry the virus, but they don't get affected by it. There was like very hammy dialogue like 10 minutes before the end of the episode. So, they certainly made that a possibility. And, he talked about it, I think, in one of the episodes where, he said they both got licked by the dog. So that's also a possibility. There is something more inherently kind of fucked up, if he is kind of directly responsible, via a bodily fluid transmission. That would be certainly even more heartbreaking than it kind of already was. But I liked that. I just thought that kind of once it got more towards going back to like the headquarters and, I don't know, I guess kind of the ending of it was fine. I
totally thought that they were going to drive through there and everybody's head was going to explode. I expected that. It didn't happen. Kind of disappointed that it didn't happen because I expected her to blow through that roadblock and then everybody just fucking explode all in the car.
Well, I was wondering. I was like, okay, maybe for season 2, they're going to go beyond the wall, and then it's just basically going to be mostly a new cast.
Yeah.
Aside from, the brother and the sister. And I was just like, okay, that could be interesting. But I was like, I feel like they invested so much into these characters. It'd kind of be shitty if they just dumped all of that. But then I guess, season 2, you could meet, 3 or 4 more new stragglers and then have some flashbacks for them potentially too. But I guess if they're outside of the wall, then maybe they weren't affected by the rain. So what story is there to tell, I suppose. But, no, I don't know. I mean,
oh, they should have drove through there and everybody should have fucking died. That would have been a perfect ending for the show. I'm not gonna lie.
I don't agree with that, but
I think it would have been awesome. Then you're left with 2, and then you start over for a fresh take.
What would be the point of them driving through and knowing that they're going to die?
Well, they wouldn't have known, right? Like if they just would have blown through the roadblock, they would have.
Oh, you mean like before they were told that hey, you're going to blow up if you blow through?
Yeah, because okay. you know that
I thought you were saying that they would tell them like, yeah, if you drive off, you're going to blow up. And they're like, fuck you, man, we're going to do it anyway, and then they blow up anyway. And I'm like, I don't.
No, I'm talking really about just like, hey, listen, there's these people here. They're trying to block the road. You run over the guy that you kind of. You met there for a little bit, but they're desperate to try to leave, so they run him over, he jumps out of the way, or whatever the case is, it doesn't matter. And then they penetrate through the wall, and then as they penetrate through the wall, everybody in the car explodes, except her and Rasmus. And then that would pick up season 2 in all sorts of emotional distress. They would be all sorts of fucked up.
Yeah, that would be pretty hardcore, but they did not go in that direction.
It's a good thing I don't direct shows, I guess, because that's where I would have taken it.
Yeah,
they drive, they plow through the roadblock, and then everybody dies.
Yeah, well, it's just obviously not where they wanted to take the story. I guess it's worth noting it has not actually been renewed for a second season as of yet, but I would be very surprised if it doesn't. I think just kind of due to the nature of the production of this show, it's got to be one of the biggest Danish productions. It's kind of a one-of-its-kind type thing, I think, in terms of the international distribution and stuff like that for Netflix from them. So I would think that, I don't know how popular it's been. I don't know what the viewership ratings are or anything like that. Netflix doesn't release those statistics, but I don't know. I'd be surprised if we don't see more of this. I don't know. I think it's a show that inherently has kind of like a 3-season-ish type, arc that could realistically play out, and I don't really know what else you can do. Because, I mean, isn't it established that the rain isn't even harmful anymore? Wasn't because they had that scene where they're all playing around in the rain. We're like, oh, I guess the rain's fine right now. Or maybe it was just...
Yeah, he's the problem now. Which, I guess, in reality, they could probably just kill him, and then it's all okay.
Well, that's what the dad was trying to do.
It's true.
He was trying to, he knew that they were trying to escape, so that's why he's like, okay, well, I knew that, they were going to harvest him, to kind of create the cure, but now it's gone beyond, it's gone out of control, so... I have to make the hard decision now. So we'll see. I'll watch a second season, assuming that it does get one. If it doesn't, it's not going to be the end of the world for me. But I would definitely watch a second season, should they make one.
Yeah, I agree.
As long as, they hopefully they keep it, the same length, keep the same vibe to it. I think that'd be good. Maybe some more love triangles, get some more people in there. I guess we need a replacement for Beatrice. So, so we can keep that angle going, because that's my jam, right?
Yeah.
All right. I think that's it, right?
That's it.
All right. Well, I have not been up too much this week, so I will start very briefly. I think you've probably watched a bit more, so I'll turn it over to you in just a minute. The only thing I've done, and I talked about it briefly with you on the telephone a couple days ago, is I watched the first episode of the second season of Legion, and Legion is trippy as fuck, and I love it. I don't know what's going on, but it's great, and it's very reassuring to see David Howler and all these supporting characters back in action. I'm very intrigued by kind of the angle they're taking with it. I mentioned to you, John Hamm as the narrator is fucking awesome.
Yeah, I had no idea about that. When you told me that, it got me like if you don't have me on the Snapchats, add me on the Snapchats, because I Snapchat a lot of shit. But I feel like I've Snapchatted every single one of those narration segments, and I thought they were totally awesome. And then when I find out Mr. Hamm himself is doing the narration on them, I feel like it explains everything.
He's got that silky smooth Don Draper voice, man.
He does. Makes me want to watch Mad Men.
You should do it. Everyone should do it. Get on it right now. I think it's on Netflix. I'm pretty sure actually all of it is on Netflix, as a side note. But that's all I've been up to. I think I should have a little bit more time over this next week. So I hope that I can at least get caught up on Legion, if nothing else. And then if I get caught up on Legion, then I'll move on to The Expanse and all the other HBO shows. Like I said, Barry, Silicon Valley have ended. I still have to watch those episodes. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has one more episode left in its season, so maybe we can talk about that potentially. And Westworld, we'll have one or two more by the time we record next. So I have plenty of things to watch. So Legion's good stuff. Looking forward to catching up on the rest of it. And I will turn it over to you. What have you been up to?
So I am current on Legion, which is absolutely incredible. Expanse is absolutely incredible. Westworld, I know I said last week, you called me out on it. You said production values don't necessarily mean a show is the best show based on production values. And I would certainly agree with that. I just, the level, I mean, The Expanse remains my favorite. But the Westworld is definitely forming into a story that's definitely intricately told.
Are you caught up on Westworld? Did you watch the one from last night?
I did.
Sunday night.
Watched the one last night. And it's pretty fucking good.
Yeah, I've heard good things about that one. I've heard that it kind of picks things up in a big bad way. So I'm looking forward to watching
it. It kind of ties things together in a different way, and it's just it's. And you could tell that those investments were being made in the early episodes. I mean, that's right. What I mean.
I think I talked as much about that. I think there's intriguing things to come. It just hasn't quite gotten there yet. Hasn't put all the pieces together. So.
And it's and that's very much. I think you said it's Westworld fashion for it to be told that way. But Expanse is much more deliberate in its pacing, and it's not so much concerned about trying to create a web as much as Westworld is. So comparing those two shows, it's apples and oranges a little bit, but yeah. I also, I'm caught up on all the shows. I'm caught up on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D, Legion, Westworld, and I feel like there's one more I'm missing out on. What's the other one?
Did you say The Expanse? I mean, I know you're caught up on The
Expanse. Yeah, I'm also caught up on The Expanse. I did catch up. I did watch some different movies this week, though. So I was movie browsing on Sunday, and I caught a movie on Netflix called The Similars, also known as, in the original tongue or the original language, Los Parecidos. And it's a Mexican movie directed by Isaac Esban. And it's very Twilight Zone-y. It's just really wacky and really out there. But I thought this movie was really well made. It's definitely not for everybody. It's very niche. It's very art house, I think. It's almost monochromatic. With its cinematography, there are colors and stuff in it, but it's just very mute. And I thought it was. I laughed my ass off. I thought it was awesome. So immediately after that movie, I caught up on his other movie, which was called The Incident. Which let's see if I can catch the original title for this one. Let's see.
Shouldn't be too
La
difficult.
Incidente, right?
Your gender's off, but yeah. Close enough.
El Incidente.
There you go. Yeah, got it.
El Incidente. I think that this one was. I didn't think it was as good as the. What the fuck am I trying to say? The Similars. I didn't think it was as good as the Similars, but it was definitely interesting, and it was actually it. Have you ever watched a movie where a movie pays, you have to ask yourself, is this movie ripping another movie off, or is it paying homage to that previous movie?
Sure.
How do you define that?
Kind of be hard to say without any sort of context for what's going on with it.
Okay, well, I mean, if you haven't seen it, it's going to be hard to have the debate about it, but The Incident, I feel like The Incident paid homage to another movie called, I talked about it a few weeks back in our podcast. I can't remember what it was called. Fuck. Bear with me. Let me look it up. Dead End.
Okay.
I talked about Dead End. So in The Incident, it tells a parallel story between these criminals running away from a cop in a stairwell, and they get caught in this infinite loop where the stairwell doesn't end, and they get caught there for a long time. And then it tells a parallel story of a family going on a road trip, and they get caught on an endless road, which was that endless road bit. I think it paid homage. I would say it paid homage to Dead End, just based on the endless road kind of thing. Plus, they were driving the same kind of car, the same color car, and I feel like it was definitely tipping its hat towards Dead End, but definitely creatively crafted movies. I was definitely into them. They're both very Twilight Zone-esque and just kind of weird fiction, kind of different, which was scratching an itch. Is that what we talked about earlier?
Yeah, I think you got it right that time.
So that scratched the itch on Sunday. So I caught both of those movies. He also was a director in a similar. We were talking about the Guillermo del Toro thing he's got coming out.
Okay.
Where multiple directors are a part of a project.
Yeah.
And he was the same director, Isaac Esban. He was part of a show called, if I can find it, Maybe I can't find it. Oh, Barbaros, Mexico. And I don't think that this one reviewed particularly well, but it's something I'm going to watch just because it sounds interesting. A couple of different directors and writers and stuff, they all kind of contribute to Mexican traditions and legends and stuff in multiple different stories. So it kind of, I don't know, it sounds very interesting. So I'm going to look into it and I'll report back next week. But that's called Barbaros, Mexico. Or Mexico Barbaro, I think is the way it's told. But either way, that's what I've been into, man. I've been diving into Isaac Esban.
Yeah. There's also one more thing that you talked about earlier that you didn't quite talk about just now.
What's that?
A DC animated movie.
Yes! Fuck yeah! Oh my god, I can't believe I forgot that. I watched Batman Ninja. Holy shit. Batman Ninja. Batman Ninja, if you want to watch some Japanese, like, anime stuff, or if you're into Transformers or Voltron or any of that sort of stuff, I don't know. I feel the Batman Ninja is just completely off the fucking wall. It's crazy. I feel kind of uncomfortable recommending it, but I was thoroughly entertained. It's just completely fucking bonkers. Have you seen it yet?
I have not, no.
Oh man. It's really cool. I like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed it. But then again, I feel like the things that I watch and the things that enjoy me are completely different than other people would enjoy. Just like I said, this one is completely fucking bonkers. It's crazy. There's giant robots. Batman's a samurai. There's time travel. There's an army of monkeys. Bane is a sumo wrestler at one point, which is just fucking, it's crazy. Batman's motorcycle turns into a armored mech suit so he can fight sumo wrestler Bane.
Sure. Yeah, why not?
This shit is just happens crazy. I can go on and on about the ridiculous shit in the show. It's ridiculously fun. So if you want to watch it, check it out. I highly recommend it. I feel uncomfortable recommending it because I don't think everybody's going to be into it. But it is if you're into Batman, if you're into like just Japanese culture and anime and stuff, I think you'll be into it too. If you're into robots, check it out.
That's what you're into.
If you're into an army of little apes and monkeys and stuff being controlled by a flute, that's pretty cool. I don't know.
I'll do the fingering.
Yeah. Robin was blowing and a little monkey was doing the fingering in this one. And then at one point,
oh my,
the little monkey went and got his girlfriend monkey. And so Robin was blowing into the flute and there were two monkeys playing the flute, doing the fingering. It's completely fucking bonkers.
Sounds like an adventure.
I enjoyed it. So, I've been watching a lot of crazy shit. It's pretty cool. I'm all about it.
Oh, well, you're keeping yourself busy over the weekend.
Yeah.
I'm a little jealous. I guess I was busy, but I was busy watching these two shows that we just talked about at length. So, is that all for you? Anything else?
No, there's nothing else.
Any other craziness? Okay. Well, time to wrap this bad boy up. Then thank you guys for listening. If you enjoyed what you heard, spread the word. Maybe leave us a review. It doesn't rhyme, but you could do that on Facebook or iTunes or however you guys are listening to this podcast. That would be ideal. You can support us on Patreon. Go to watchreviewrepeat.com, which of course is our website. Go to the premium tab there. You can find all the information for our Patreon page, or you can head to patreon.com/watchreviewrepeat. As we talked about on our last episode, our upcoming bonus episode will be on the Indiana Jones franchise, and hopefully we'll have that up, within the next, we'll have it up in a little while. I don't want to say anything too firm just yet, because we haven't exactly conferred on the side to figure out when we want to do that, but rest assured it will happen at some point in the future, and we'll let you know when it does. You can like us on Facebook, follow us at Twitter at WRRPod. watchreviewrepeat@gmail.com if you want to send any questions, comments, suggestions, anything like that to our email. That is where to send it. Intro and outro track is Mechanolith by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under the Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. And next episode, we're getting into a pretty nice 1-2 stretch. First part is going to be Deadpool 2. It's coming out. The review embargo literally just lifted about 30 minutes ago, so I'm taking a quick peek at the Rotten Tomatoes just to see what we're looking at, maybe what we have in store. 90% right now.
Nice.
Pretty good. 22 reviews, so early. It's very early days, but it's a good start. I'm looking forward to it. That last trailer was fucking awesome, so I think we're in for a good time with that, and I guess we can leave it there and, pick it up next week when we talk Deadpool 2.
Totally, dude. Totally.
All right. Well, I guess there's nothing left to say other than latest on the Menjay.
Latest on the Menjay.